this long-awaited Seoul apartment hunting video. I've been itching to make this video because these are one of my favorite videos to watch. I love looking at places, looking at prices and getting an idea of what you can get for a certain price. So today I'm gonna walk you guys through the entire Seoul apartment hunting process. I toured over 10 apartments. And I'm also going to include prices and location. I don't like when I watch apartment hunting videos where they don't show prices and location, because I'm like, what the fuck are you gatekeeping in 2022? Really? So that's why I'm going to include that in my video. But anyway, I know this city can be expensive, but I feel like it's not even one of the most expensive cities to live in, at least rent-wise. I mean, I think it's even cheaper than London for what you can get for a certain price, but it's a completely different market. So I'm gonna try my best to walk you through the process, how it works, everything you need to know. Grab your pen and paper because there is a lot to cover. So before we jump into the actual apartment tour, I want to give you guys an example, like some background information about how the Seoul real estate market works. Nothing too deep, but things that are useful and you might really want to know if you are thinking about moving here long term. But you can take this information also if you want to move here for the 90 days that usually don't require something different from a tourist visa. If you don't want to use Airbnb or some other mainstream platform to book your place. Depending on the time you're moving, rental units in Seoul might go fast. If it's a period where students are moving or it's hiring season, whatever. But anyway, if you plan to move to Seoul for a long time, you can use different apps to look for places. You could also go to a real estate here. They're called Bangjeonse and they are everywhere in Seoul really, and you can also find some of them that have an English speaking service. If you want to do some research before you come to Korea, you can download app like Dabang, Jikbang, and there's also one called Peter Pan. I downloaded that, but I didn't use that. So I'm not sure, but you can find, like if you spend, like I did, full months on this app, you can also cross-check every information. You can find the same place on different, like on all the apps. So you just know that the listings are all the same. It's very rare that you find an option available on one app and not on another one. They also have websites, and websites are actually the thing you want to check first before downloading the app, because you can use Google Translate to help you on the website while the apps are only in Korean. So it might be difficult because you can use the filters for the apps, you can use where the windows are facing or the budget you're in for the deposit and the rent. You can use a filter for the location, you can use a filter for whatever you want in your place. I like Dabang more, both the app and the website. It's much easier, like user-friendly, and also I think the Google Translator works better on that, in a sense that like the UX design makes everything more clear and just easy to understand. So when is a good time to start looking for an apartment in Seoul? I would say around 1 month before you come. You can browse those websites / apps, but realistically, you probably will never get the place if you browse that much in advance. Places just go by fast. I think it's always useful because at least you can get an idea of what each neighborhood feels like. So when you actually go to apartment hunting, you are not overwhelmed and you can make sure you're not screwed over, and you know what's a good deal and especially what's a rip-off. Speaking of real estate agents, at least in my case, I contact every real estate agent through KakaoTalk, which is something you want to download anyway if you're coming to Korea, so you might just download it earlier. Some agency, they have the Kakao ID and you can contact them, and some of them even say English available or something. I remember there were some places where the language available were Chinese, Japanese, English, and sometimes also Spanish. I saw that some of them also had the WhatsApp number as a contact, but honestly I just wanted Kakao because it's more common and it was much easier and less confusing for me to do everything on the same app. But you do you. Then I would recommend to come to Seoul 2 to 3 weeks before you're actually ready to move in. At least that's what I did. Like, I tried to book a place in 1 week and it was not enough, but that's another story. Anyway, I stayed in my quarantine apartment for 25 days, 10 of which were quarantine days. So if you take that 10 days out, it took me basically 2 weeks to find a place. I apartment hunted a couple of days after my quarantine ended. I was ready to sign the lease 2 days before I had to move out of my Airbnb. But this is just because I was very indecisive. That's the reason why I toured over 10 apartments. So yeah, if you know what you want and you have your option on the app, it's gonna be much easier. Just in case, like, to be safe, 2 weeks is enough. So if you're not familiar with Seoul, I would recommend staying in a Goshimwon. If your main purpose is just having a place to stay while you're apartment hunting, Goshimwon is cheap. I mean, it's also the size of a Converse shoebox, but you're most likely just going there to sleep. You'll be fine. And you can save money in the meantime. So you can also look on Google. There are some maps that highlight some neighborhoods, and you can also check the vibe that each neighborhood has, so you can get an idea. Also touring Seoul in general, because sometimes you think that you want to live somewhere, but you actually don't want to live there. And also you don't really have any problem commuting in Seoul. The train system is so efficient. Commuting is also a way to save money, in my opinion. But you know, if you're staying like 40 minutes away from your company or your school, it might get tiring on the long run. So this is just something you want to take in consideration when you are touring your apartment. So, how much money do you need to save before moving to Seoul? Honestly, it's up to you. Like, of course, I will give you a broad idea. I would recommend 4 to 5 months of saving, like, for rent before moving to Seoul. That I know might seem a lot, but you will have a lot of things to worry about during these month. Money is a stressful topic. If you at least don't need to worry about your rent, it's something that you really want to, it will really ease your mind. Like, it will make you feel better and more relaxed. So trust me, it's for your mental health. Also, during the first months, you will be spending a lot of money to feel like a normal person. And I mean, SIM card, transportation, internet, that's a lot you want to consider. So just to save 4 to 5 months would be ideal. Now the renting system in Seoul is different. We generally have 3 types of renting, and these are terms you will also find on the app I mentioned before. Jeonse, where you pay a higher deposit, and usually one contract is about 2 years. In addition, tenants are not required to pay monthly rent. That's why the deposit is so high. By high, I mean over 20k or even 30k. Like, this is the minimum. You might not find any Jeonse like that. It's about 50k or whatever. It's not the solution you really want to get yourself into unless you have enough money and you are willing to. And then we have the Wolse, which is probably the thing you're going for. It's the monthly rent. So you pay a deposit, which is not as high as the Jeonse, and then you pay your monthly rent. The contract is more flexible, and that's the reason why it is what most people are going for. And then we have the Bangjeonse, which is a combination of Wolse and Jeonse, where the deposit is higher than the Wolse but lower than the Jeonse. So these are the 3 options, but like I said, you will most likely find a Wolse the best solution for you. Then when you go to an apartment and you're ready to put down your application, you have to pay like the 30% of your total deposit just to block the apartment up front. It's kind of a good faith deposit while they approve your application and hold the apartment for you. Once you send the payment and the documents they require, which are usually a copy of your passport and maybe your visa situation, immigration. Before moving in, you have to pay the rest of the deposit. The day you're signing the contract is also the day when you're paying your broker fee, and usually the broker fee in Seoul is between $400 and $300, but they asked me for 50 and I was like, So I googled average price broker fees in Seoul and I saw they were getting too excited about that, so I also asked my friend and she said, no, that's way too high. So I was like, yeah, sure, I didn't know it was going to be that expensive. Can we agree for 300? And they said, oh, okay, can we do 350? And I was like, yes, just try, so they know that you know. This is a disclaimer from a person who has not much experience with renting in general, but you don't need to pay the broker fee if you don't sign a lease. You can go with 10 different brokers, but you don't have to pay for that. I don't know how it works. Maybe it's obvious, maybe it's not. I'm just saying, because some people might even try to get you money seeing that you're a foreigner. It didn't happen to me, but I heard some stories and I'm just warning you. You don't have to pay if you don't sign a lease, okay? It's illegal. And this is when we spill the tea. Speaking of illegal stuff, I kid you not, 8 out of 10 apartments I saw were doing illegal stuff. Like, So, as a foreigner, you need to have a contract, okay? If you don't have a contract, you cannot register your residence card. It's a different type of contract. It's not the one that you sign, because I'm pretty sure you sign a contract all the time, but the landlord needs to give you a paper that says that you are the person renting the place. Without that, you cannot apply for your residence card and you cannot live legally in Korea without your residence card. So this is something you want to keep in mind. Anyway, all the places I saw, they were not giving this fucking paper. It's called Jeonse. You have to ask if it's possible. Like, please, you need to ask that. If they don't give you this Jeonse, you cannot rent your place. Like, you can, but you cannot have your residence card. It's useless. You're wasting money. This Jeonse is something that basically, if I understand it right, I know that basically the landlord has to register his place for renting. They don't want to pay taxes, like everywhere in the world. They don't want to pay taxes, so most of them are not renting in transparency for the government, and they're not giving these fucking contracts. But you need that, and every place I was looking for that they had a low deposit and was in my budget did not have the fucking contract. So I was like, I was going crazy. And I remember even the broker I was with, like, he was like, I am so sorry, I had no idea that there were so many people that were not doing this kind of contract, because he was not used to foreigner asking for that, or maybe he didn't remember, or maybe they just asked for something with a higher deposit. Anyway, he was shocked. He even called the immigration and asked if it was necessary, and they said yes. So just in case you were wondering, yes, you cannot avoid that. I remember this was the first question he was asking every time he would call a landlord or another agency. He was like, can you offer Jeonse? They were like, that would be a problem. I was like, okay, bye. You have no idea how many phone calls we had. It was like a call center, for real. I remember he was looking at me and he was like, I don't understand. By the way, what you're asking for is legal. It's them that they're not doing the thing legally. So yeah, I guess this might happen. I hope it doesn't happen to you. Just in case, before you get your hopes high too much, ask for this Jeonse. First question, can do Jeonse. Don't worry about your English. Use Papago if you want to try Korean. Just ask for this thing. And oddly enough, Goshiwon are giving Jeonse. Like, I was like, why Goshiwon have no problem for that? And it was like, I have no idea. Basically, the deposit is around 10k, 10 to 15k minimum in Korea. You can find cheaper option. I mean, I did, so I am a clear example of that. But usually it's 10 to 15k. And when you apply for, like, when you visit places that have 10 to 15k of deposit, usually it's because they are paying taxes. Like, you don't need to question the Jeonse if you are looking for places with these average deposit. So you should be fine in that price range. It was way out of my budget. My budget for the deposit was less than 2K, honestly. The place I found, like the place I'm living in, the deposit, I managed to find it for 1,500, which is just it's just meant to be. Like, I'm so happy I could find it, and it matched all my criteria, like 90% of them. So my final tip is come with all your documents prepared. Like, you will not need much, honestly, but one thing very important that even the broker told me, he was like, can you afford paying both rent, deposit and broker fee? Because some foreigner, like their foreigner bank, they block their account or something. And I was like, yeah, I know it can happen. That's why I told my bank that I was going to leave, and I even like made my limit higher. I knew that I was going to pay a deposit and month and have a lot of expenses at first. It's something you want to check with your bank, just so they know that you're going to spend more money and they are not block anything for you, because it might happen for a security reason. And also you might want to check what is your limit if you have a debit card. Just want to check things with your bank first. This is one thing, very important, very annoying. It's not fun to go to the bank, but it's useful. And then the second thing is just print your document. Print a couple of, even 3 copies of your passport, print 3 to 4 copies of your visa, you never know, and have everything on your phone. So if you need to print that out, you can go anywhere. You don't need to bring it every time with you. Please save yourself from anxiety and future hustle. Your future self will be thankful, trust me. All in all, it's not much hustle. I mean, they just needed the copy of my passport, and then once I paid the deposit, they just wanted the proof of payment, which is something you're gonna get anyway when you make the payment. So nothing crazy. Now for the actual information about the apartment. So I was looking for a very specific type of apartment. I was coming from my quarantine apartment and I couldn't wait to get out of that place. I was looking for a 1-room type of apartment, bright place with a big window. Ideally, I didn't want the bed to be in front of the kitchen. I don't know, in my mind it's just very weird and it's something I don't like. And thinking about the apartment I had in Shinlim, I wanted my bathroom to be considered a normal bathroom. Nothing fancy, just separated shower and sink, and something that was not stinky, okay? I wasn't asking for much for the bathroom. Then I want a washing machine, which is very common actually in Seoul to have. I know it's not common in New York or something, but here I have not seen any place without that. And it's not because of the price point, because I even had a washing machine in my Chile apartment, so it's very common here. And then I wanted my apartment to be furnished. If not fully furnished, at least I didn't want to buy a bed or a mattress. These heavy stuff, I was just looking at these things and it just stressed me out thinking about how am I gonna sell these things once I move out of my place. I know it's weird, but it's something that it was really bothering me at that time. So I was like, whatever, I just don't want to buy a bed. I don't want to buy a mattress. Like, I don't care. Things were not that easy though. My budget for the deposit was 1K and my monthly rent was $800. These were more or less the prices I had on my mind when I was touring my apartment and when I was with my broker. Like, we were filtering all the apartment. Even before, when I was looking on the apps, these were the filter I would apply to find an apartment. And I would say that browsing in advance really helps you, like, shaping the idea of what you're gonna get for what you're going for in terms of money. And for the neighborhood, honestly, I didn't have many preference. I was just going for something that was not on the Yeonnam-dong because I lived already there for 3 months and I just wanted something different. Then my favorite area is Hannam-dong, which is a rich area, so that's already a big no. Then I looked for some places in Itaewon, but they were too expensive. I wanted to avoid Shillim area, so just because I've already been there and I wanted a fresh new start. I was looking for mainly Gangnam, Socho, like these area. They're all close to each other. These are the area where some companies are, so I was like, probably if I find a company, I'm gonna find it there. I was just being practical because I still needed to find a place. and they're still central. They're very well connected to the rest of Seoul, so that's my pragmatic reason. Like, if I cannot get a place in Jeonse or Hannam-dong, everywhere else, just that somewhere that makes me feel like I'm part of this world, it's okay. I was more worried about finding an actual place than finding a good area, to be honest. Okay, just start the actual tour. So the first apartment that I visited was a one room, was deposit 150, 82 for the rent. It wasn't extremely spacious, but there was definitely enough room for a bed and a desk and a little corner to film in, which is pretty much what I needed in an apartment, as well as enough space for my home workout. I also really liked this huge window that made the whole place feel very spacious. To be honest, in the first apartments, like the first 2 or 3 apartments, there were still people living, and I felt so self-conscious filming because I didn't want to put people's belongings on the internet, like exposing them. I felt very bad, so the clips are or short for this reason. So I'm sorry about that. Anyway, the window was huge. Even if I'm not sure which side is facing, there is this filter on the app where you can also set like which side you want your window to face. And I remember to not filter too much because of my budget everything was like the research were already very slim, and I remember I just filtered out that I didn't want a window facing north just to be safe. Another thing that I always look for in apartments is just the vibe. Like, I don't know how to explain that. Some apartments, like, you walk in and you're just like, wow, this is so good. And some other ones, it's just like, what's wrong? Something's off. Anyway, the next apartment I saw, it was so pretty. It was a loft style. I really wanted to see a loft style apartment. I love that. This one was 150 and 90 for rent, which is slightly over the budget, but because it was my dream apartment, I was willing to spend more money for that. What I loved about this style of apartment, honestly, was the fact that the bedroom and the rest of the place were physically separated. So it was like having 2 different spaces. I don't know, in my mind, it just made sense, and it made me feel like the place was actually bigger than it was. This one, however, came unfurnished, and because I like it that much, I was also willing to buy a mattress for that. And because it also had a great window, I was already imagining all the shots during the day and how pretty it would be in pictures. There was a lot of storage as well, which is something I was really appreciating and finding myself looking for later when I was touring other apartments. Storage means you don't need to buy anything else, which means less things to care about when you're moving out. Is it weird that I was already thinking that far? Like, I was thinking about moving out before I was even moving in. It's weird. Is it just me? I don't really know, honestly. I always see myself around the world. Like, I don't see myself living forever in a place. So the thought of living forever somewhere in the same place gives me so much anxiety because I feel like I'm stuck in a place. So I don't know, I was very excited to move in somewhere, but at the same time I was already thinking about when I was moving out. My mind goes always to the most practical solution, just in case. We'll see how it goes. At this point, I had an idea of what I was gonna get for my budget. I felt like I had to see more. This is when things got bad, like really bad. I remember I was exhausted because I was touring so many apartments. We were making so many phone calls. I found so many apartments that had everything I needed, like everything. They were my ideal apartment, but the fucking landlords were not giving the fucking paper, and I was so stressed out. I remember my broker, I think he was stressed as well because he got rejected so many times. At this point, we were also looking for something fully furnished. We visited these beautiful apartments that were huge, at least for me, super pretty, and I literally did not need to buy anything. They had big windows, although they were not always facing something pretty, but it's okay. The sunlight was there. Everything was new. The bathroom was just as I liked it, and they were so big. They even had a sofa and a table, and there was also enough space for the bed. Like, a queen size bed. I remember the feeling, and I could really move the things around, you know, to make a nice corner to film and enough space for everything I need. And the buildings were new, which I learned to be something very important when you're looking for an apartment, especially in Seoul. The reason why my place was stinky in Shinlim, it was because of the building. Like, it was old, and so the pipes were old, the walls were thin, and probably it needed some renovation, and it was something I really didn't want to deal with for a long-term stay. Then we went to see some loft apartments because he understood that I really liked their loft apartment, and they were honestly a bit far from the area I was going to stay. They were giving the freaking paper, so we were just going for that. The buildings were nice, and I even met the landlady. She was super nice and super sweet. She was like a breath of fresh air for me. I was like, finally there's someone who is not making me feel stressed and just hopeless. She felt like sunshine, like the light in the dark. Some of the lofts were just weird, I guess you would say. This one just had a bad interior, and it gave me very weird vibe. It looked like there was some mistake in terms of architecture and design, and it was a feeling that I couldn't shake off. But it was fully furnished, it had a microwave and a washing machine. The bathroom was okay, so technically it was matching all my criteria. I mean, it wasn't bad. There was even a small balcony, and when I saw that, I could really see myself like just going there with a cup of coffee. It was nice. I got weird vibes for the rest of the place. I couldn't make it work, let's say, because it was within the budget. The rent was too high. I honestly have no idea why I didn't understand the assignment there, but anyway, I told him that if we could find something monthly within my budget and that was exactly the apartment I was looking for, I was willing to pay even 7K deposit, which was the average price to get something better, like within my criteria, according to the broker. Once I unlocked these thoughts in his mind, we went to see some other places. Beautiful apartment. This was so beautiful. Like, I remember I was entering and I saw that window with that view, and I was like, oh my god, I love it. It was honestly one of the best I visited. The building was good. It was up a hill, so it was super nice, and it felt like a very rich area, which was not matching the price, honestly. The security was there and it felt safe. The view got me. Everything was just beautiful. It was, again, a loft, and downstairs was so spacious and bright that it just felt good being there. It came unfurnished though, and as I was walking up the stairs, the second floor had some scratches on the wallpaper, and somewhere the wallpaper was also falling off, as well as some very weird rubbing on the wall. I asked my broker about that, and he said that he would ask the landlord, especially if they could give some discount for the condition of the house. I said that if the landlord was going to give him a discount, I was going to book the place the same day, like as soon as he got the answer. That's how much I like that place. But it didn't happen. I got a message the same night saying that the landlord was not going to give me any discount. She was also not going to change the wallpaper or doing anything about that, which for me was a very red flag. What's the point in living in a rich area if you are so careless about your apartment? I was really disappointed because I really liked the place, but because it triggered something in me, like it was a huge red flag for me. Because I was like, if she doesn't care about these before I move in, then probably if some problems arise during my stay, she will not do much to help me. And I was not, I didn't want to deal with that. So I think it's for the best. So we moved to the next apartments on the list. You know, when I told you that I don't know why he didn't understand the assignment there, the last days when I made the switch, like I think he finally did for that time, because he brought me like to these places where everything I was looking for. I had to pay 7K for the deposit, but the rent was lower. So I felt like my broker just brought me in some overpriced places and kept the best for last. That's the feeling I got. I was like, what's happening here? Why didn't you show me these places before? Anyway, so all of these were 7k deposit and the rent was around 80 or 90. Two of them were in the same building at different floors, but they were very different also as units. The other one was nearby, so it was everything in the same area. They all had such a beautiful view. Honestly, I don't know what it is, but maybe it was my mindset at the time, but just looking from that windows made me feel so much better about my life. I don't know. There's something about higher floors and these views that really ease my mind. These two came unfurnished. It was already higher deposit, so at this point I was at peace even with buying a mattress, so I didn't really care. You can see I was getting desperate by the minute and I was willing to compromise a lot of my initial requests. This other place had a pull-out, is how you call that? Bad situation. Overall, everything was new, so nothing to really complain about, besides the actual place maybe being very small, even without the bed around. The other two apartments, one that are in the same buildings, one of them was smaller than the other, but there was also a difference between the two for the rent prices, so I guess it just made sense. This one, there was something I just didn't like. It looked like a weird hotel and I had weird vibes. No, everything was just weird. Not the vibe. This other one had the window of my dreams. There was someone living there and I'm glad, honestly, because I could see how it would look with furniture. It was rectangular, but horizontally. I don't know how to explain that. It basically looked like a hallway. That's the impression I got. I would have not chosen that bed. It was way too big for the place. It made everything feel clustered and just suffocating, which is something I really didn't want to. But then the window, oh my god, I can see why the broker brought me there. It was a full wall, like again an office alleyway. I don't know why I got that vibe, honestly. I love that view. I don't know why I was thinking about it. I could imagine all the shots I could take and clips I could film from that window. I could really envision myself living there with a completely different design. The amount of light was going to be crazy and the location was extremely good. Everything I could need was at walkable distance, which made everything just more convenient. I honestly felt like I was living like a normal person and I was finally not trying to adapt to whatever the market was throwing my way, honestly. At this point, it was coming to the end of the weekend and I was getting a bit nervous because I still had to decide where I was going to live. Once I really liked even a little bit, by the end of the week, they were already off the market because they were either rented or we later found out that the freaking journey wasn't possible and they didn't tell us earlier. At this point, I was basically really considering just paying the 7,000 deposit and getting one of the places I toured, like I saw the last day, and just hope for the best in the future. I told my broker I was going to think about it for a day. Before making the decision, I just wanted for myself a day without thinking about anything rent related. So after a full day, I sent a message to my broker from Wolse. I choose apartment number 1. It was the first apartment I toured and I don't know, it just felt the right choice. I didn't really like it when I saw it first because the girl had so many things. She was in the middle of moving, so I couldn't really see the apartment properly, but there was something about this apartment that just felt the right choice. I love it. I don't know, this is my dream apartment. I signed my contract, I paid the rest of the deposit, and I moved in after 2 days. And it's all mine. I live in Seoul right now. It's been a while, like a long time, I'm sorry. I feel just so relieved that I chose this place. Every time I just wake up and feel blessed and lucky that I choose this apartment, that I can afford this apartment, and that I live here. Because it was just rough. Even the first month in this apartment were rough. You just have to trust the process for everything in life. I love it. I just love it. It's like 100% my apartment. Chef's kiss. Good job, Rosa. I'm just glad that I didn't let the language barrier stop me and I tried to learn, just deal with everything. And I'm so excited that I can finally show you guys everything. Like, I've been taking pictures of this apartment like here and there on Instagram and such, but I didn't really have, I mean, even now it's not fully furnished, but I think I'm pretty much done. So I'm ready to make a tour because I really want to brag about my thrifting finds. And I wake up every day feeling blessed, thanking my past self for this choice. It always works as a reminder that I am the best person I can trust to make the right choice about my life. If I would ask for advice and I would just ask anyone else for advice, it would probably have a different outcome. But me, I know what's right for me. Like, this is a reminder whenever I'm questioning myself. Yo, Rosa from the future, just watch this video. Know that your intuition is on point. Trust yourself. Your future self will be always thankful. Anyway, I hope this was very helpful for you guys. If you're apartment hunting, good luck. If you have any questions, just ask in the comment section. I will try my best to answer. See you next time. Bye bye.